From censored files to clear evidence, this is Redacted Realms.
The earthquake occurred along a subduction zone where tectonic plates converge. This displacement of the seafloor generated massive energy that traveled through the water. Tsunami waves can travel across entire ocean basins at speeds exceeding 500 miles per hour. In deep water, these waves may be barely noticeable, with heights of just a few feet. As they approach shallow coastal areas, the waves slow down and their energy compresses upward. This compression can create walls of water that inundate low-lying regions. Coastal topography plays a critical role in determining the impact of these waves. Areas with steep offshore slopes and natural barriers often experience reduced effects. Conversely, gently sloping shores and river deltas are particularly vulnerable to inundation. This combination of geological forces and coastal geography created the conditions described. The 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake was one of the most powerful ever recorded, with a magnitude of 9.1. This immense force displaced a massive volume of water, generating a series of devastating tsunamis. The Aceh region of Indonesia was closest to the epicenter and suffered catastrophic damage from both the quake and the waves. In the chaos, one reported survival method involved climbing a petrified lava tree. Petrified trees are formed when volcanic material encases and mineralizes wood, creating a stone replica. Such structures can provide a stable, elevated refuge compared to collapsing buildings or floating debris. This event underscores the extreme and often improvised measures taken during natural disasters. The scale of the disaster highlights the critical importance of tsunami warning systems and coastal preparedness. Tsunami waves, some exceeding 30 meters in height, can travel at speeds comparable to jet aircraft across deep ocean waters. Upon reaching shallow coastal areas, these waves rapidly lose speed, but gain immense height and destructive power. In flat, low-lying coastal regions, the standard survival advice to seek high ground becomes physically impossible to execute. The time between a tsunami's arrival at the coast and its full inland inundation can be measured in mere minutes. Survival in such scenarios depends heavily on improvisation, as pre-planned escape routes may be instantly cut off. The force of a major tsunami is capable of scouring landscapes, stripping them of soil, vegetation, and human-made structures. Historical comparisons show that tsunami survival rates in flat regions are significantly lower than in areas with accessible high ground. This creates a scenario where individual tenacity and chance play disproportionate roles in determining outcomes. The survivor was in a coastal zone with a unique geological history. This area contains formations from ancient volcanic eruptions. During these eruptions, lava flowed through forests. The lava encased trees, creating hollow casts of rock known as lava tree molds. Lava tree molds form when molten rock surrounds vegetation, then hardens as it cools. This process preserves the shape and texture of the original trees in stone. Similar formations exist in other volcanic regions worldwide. These geological features provide insights into past volcanic events and ancient ecosystems. The stone structures described were likely natural geological formations, such as sea stacks or coastal pillars. These formations are created through long-term erosion processes, where softer rock wears away, leaving harder material behind. During storm surges or tsunami events, such structures can become temporary refuges from rushing water. The decision to reach these structures represents a survival calculation during extreme flooding conditions. Similar geological features exist in coastal regions worldwide, providing natural barriers against water movement. The irregular shape of such pillars creates complex water flow patterns that can trap debris. With no other option, he began to climb the rough, porous rock. The rock's porous texture provided minimal grip, making each movement a calculated risk. This type of volcanic rock is common in coastal regions where tsunamis occur. He clung to the top as the tsunami waves surged around him. Tsunami waves typically arrive in series, not as single events. The initial wave is often followed by secondary surges of equal or greater force. This meant he likely endured multiple waves during the event. Surviving such conditions requires maintaining position against tremendous hydraulic pressure. The force of the water would have been tremendous, filled with lethal projectiles, or splintered wood to vehicles and concrete. This type of debris-filled floodwater creates a phenomenon known as hydrodynamic loading, where the combined mass and velocity exert extreme pressure on structures. The water's momentum can carry objects with enough force to penetrate walls and crush reinforced materials. Survival in such conditions depends on finding pockets of air, avoiding debris impacts, and maintaining body temperature in cold water. The aftermath. He survived, eventually rescued, or making his way to safety after the waters receded. Post-flood survival often involves navigating through transformed landscapes, where familiar landmarks may be destroyed or submerged. Rescue in such scenarios typically involves systematic searches of accessible areas once water levels stabilize. The physical and psychological recovery from such events follows documented patterns of trauma response and adaptation. The account, documented by relief workers and geologists, specifically pointed to a particular geological formation as a key factor. This geological feature could have created specific environmental conditions or physical hazards relevant to the events. Between 4 and 6 minutes into our examination, we must address the limits of our knowledge and common misconceptions. It's crucial to clarify what we do not know about this account. There is no widely published personal interview from the individual involved in this event. The name of the person giving this account has not been made publicly available in verified sources. Similarly, the precise location referenced in the account remains unspecified in published materials. This lack of specific identifiers is common in accounts documented by relief and scientific teams, where privacy and ongoing research take precedence. Geological assessments often focus on the mechanisms and conditions rather than personal narratives. This approach helps separate verifiable environmental factors from unverified personal details. The phenomenon described is a documented anecdote within the larger catastrophe. A major misconception involves picturing a typical, living tree. This object was not made of wood. It was a stone cast, a geological formation. Such casts form when minerals replace organic material over immense timescales. This specific cast is a remnant of a tree that disappeared long ago. The process leaves behind a perfect, petrified replica of the original structure. This clarifies the nature of the object, separating fact from a common visual assumption. The stability and texture of the terrain were critical factors in this scenario. This refers to the physical properties of the surface, which determine grip and footing during movement. Another key element was simplifying the required actions. In emergency situations, complex maneuvers are often reduced to basic survival motions. This was not a planned, technical ascent, but a desperate escape. The distinction lies between recreational climbing and survival-driven movement. It involved a frantic scramble against a rising wall of churning water and mud. Such conditions create a race against time as the environment becomes increasingly hostile. This describes a common pattern in flash flood or mudslide survival situations. The mechanism involves water pressure reducing soil cohesion, creating moving debris flows. This survivor's ordeal wasn't just about the initial climb, but about maintaining that position for an extended period. Exposed to the elements and the psychological trauma of the disaster unfolding below, endurance became the critical factor. This extreme case fits a documented pattern of survival behavior observed in tsunamis, including the 2004 Indian Ocean event, when horizontal escape is impossible. Vertical evacuation to high ground is the recognized strategy. In these scenarios, people have survived by climbing sturdy, reinforced concrete structures. Strong masonry buildings and even secure utility poles have also served as viable refuges from rushing water. The key is identifying structures that can withstand both the initial impact force and the prolonged pressure of floodwaters. This practical insight transforms an individual story of survival into a repeatable lesson for disaster preparedness. The lava tree principle reveals a crucial survival strategy. Identify the tallest, most stable structure within immediate reach. During a sudden tsunami warning, official evacuation routes may be inaccessible due to time constraints or blocked paths. This approach emphasizes pre-identifying robust buildings or natural features in your regular environment before disaster strikes. Regional geology directly influences which structures remain standing during catastrophic events, like tsunamis or earthquakes. Understanding local soil composition and bedrock depth helps predict building stability under extreme stress. This geological awareness should inform both personal preparedness and community disaster planning protocols. Understanding a landscape's risks and potential shelters directly informs community evacuation planning. This principle applies to various natural hazards, from floods to wildfires, where terrain knowledge is critical. The account serves as a stark lesson in human adaptability during crisis. It demonstrates that survival instinct can leverage unusual anchors in a rapidly disappearing world. This psychological mechanism is observed in disaster scenarios where people cling to familiar objects or locations. Such anchors provide psychological stability when normal reference points vanish. The response pattern highlights how cognition shifts to prioritize immediate survival above all else. This adaptability is a fundamental human trait, documented across various extreme events.
If this file opened your eyes, subscribe and open the next case.